You are joining a live conference already in progress. If you would like to ask the speaker a question, please press 0.
Well, hello and welcome. Good evening and welcome everyone to this very special live telephone town hall we have for you tonight with Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Again, hello and welcome. You are live on the line for our telephone town hall meeting we have for you again with Congresswoman Nancy Mace, who proudly represents South Carolina's 1st District, and she is standing by right now to talk with you live over the air. So thanks so much for your patience. We are dialing out to nearly 50,000 neighbors tonight, and it takes just a little while to get everyone live over the air. So now Congresswoman Mace does these calls as a way to reach out to you and open up the conversation, and is here to talk with you tonight about South Carolina's 1st Congressional District, what she's doing for the district, and also what's going on across the country. So to get in line with your question, comment, concern, we would love for you to join our conversation. Please press 0 on the keypad on your phone tonight. Again, to get in line with your question for your Congresswoman Nancy Mace, just press 0 on the keypad on your phone tonight. That's if you're over the phone. Also tonight we're streaming over Facebook, and we're so glad to be live on Facebook as well. You can find us there. If you'd like Congresswoman Nancy Mace on Facebook, if you have a question, feel free to type that up underneath our live stream, and I'd be happy to read your question over the air. Similarly, if you're on the phone, we are taking your questions live tonight, but if you'd rather not go live, still press 0, submit your question, and let your operator know you'd rather me read your question. Happy to do that, whatever is more comfortable for you. So again, we're going to start off our event tonight with a quick update, and then we'll get right to your questions. So pressing 0 on the keypad on your phone to submit those questions, or typing them up if you're on Facebook. Also tonight, we're collecting your email addresses. If you'd like to sign up for our e-newsletter, just press 7 on the keypad on your phone. Again, to receive occasional email updates from Congresswoman Nancy Mace, just press 7. You can also opt in for text updates from us as well, the same way by pressing 7 on the keypad on your phone. Those on Facebook, you can type up your email, press submit, or private message it to our page as well. So again, we are dialing out to tens of thousands of neighbors right now in South Carolina's District 1. So bear with me as I go through this introduction. As I said, your Congresswoman Nancy Mace is standing by right now to speak with you. So again, welcome, good evening. We are so happy to be here tonight. We are live on the phone with you, dialing over 50,000 neighbors. We are also streaming live on Facebook. We're also going to be live on Twitter and YouTube, so very excited. You can find us on any one of those places, but happy to have you on the phone here tonight as well. Again, you're live on the line for our telephone town hall meeting with Congresswoman Nancy Mace, who is your representative right here in South Carolina's 1st District. She does these calls as a way to reach out to you and open up the conversation. So we want you to join our conversation tonight. To submit your question, comment, concern, if you're over the phone, just press 0 and give that to an operator. I am taking those live, but if you don't want to go live, please still press 0. Join us, submit your question. Just let your operator know you'd rather not go live. I'd be happy to read your question over the air. Also, we're, as I said, simulcasting on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Find us there by searching Congresswoman Nancy Mace. You can type up your question there as well under our stream, and I'd be happy to read that as well. Now, if you're on the phone, provide us your email address or your cell phone number to sign up for email updates from South Carolina's 1st District Office of Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Press 7. Provide us your email address to sign up for our e-newsletter. We just want to keep you up to date with important issues that are going on in our country right now and our district. So press 7 to provide your email address. And or if you want to opt in for text updates, you can give us your mobile number as well. And across our streaming services, feel free to type those up. So with that, without further ado, it is my pleasure to officially start us off. I am so excited to have Congresswoman Nancy Mace here tonight to answer your questions. So I will turn this over to her to get us officially started off. Congresswoman, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, and good evening, everyone. This is Congresswoman Nancy Mace, and I want to thank you for joining our telephone town hall tonight. I appreciate you, each and every one of you, for taking time out of your evening to be part of this important, very, very important conversation. These teletown halls are a great way for me to hear directly from you, the people I serve, the Lowcountry, the state that I love, that I've grew up in, raising my family and working, et cetera. And my job is to fight for your priorities, your family, and your future. Tonight we're going to talk about the issues that matter most to you, from the economy to border security to veterans issues and protecting women and girls. If you have a question at any time, just press 0, and my team will do their best to get to as many of you as possible. And the reason we do these teletown halls, and I do them every year. I do them multiple times a year. We also do in-person town halls as well. And I want to address the elephant in the room, because there have been lots of fake news stories about town halls and how I don't show up. Well, that's just a lie, because there have been plenty of town halls, either by telephone or by in-person, that the raging left lunatics could show up at and ask their questions. And in fact, we spent the last few weeks calling these fake town hallers, these paid agitators, far left lunatics. My office has called them and said, hey, what can we do for you at the federal level? What complaints do you have? What can our office do for you? 0. And you know what they said? They said, we just hate Donald Trump and we want Elon Musk dead. That's what they said on the phone. It was just ridiculous. And so we do this. This is frequent for us. We do this every year. We do it multiple times a year, so we're happy to have you on. I answer all the questions, as many as I can, as fast as I can. I don't hide from any questions. I'm not the kind of person where they go through and we make you put your questions on a card and we filter it and only take the easiest questions. That's not how this is done. That's not the Mace way. And so we won't be doing that tonight either. And then when we do have more time in the district, and when it is safe, when these leftist lunatics stop threatening me, my employees, and my family, we'll get back to doing in person. I would love to do it as soon as possible, but just last week someone threatened to blow up my office over town halls. We've had death threats in the office. My family has had death threats. My children have had death threats. My employees have had death threats. We had multiple bomb threats over the last couple of weeks, all because some leftists don't like Donald Trump. It's crazy. It's stupid. I will keep calling it out. And so tonight we're doing our first one of the year via telephone. We're excited to be here. I want to highlight a few key victories and bills I've introduced to protect our communities, our families, and our freedoms. First, starting off about protecting women and girls. Many of you know my story. You've heard my story. Many of you have seen me on the streets when I am home and talked to me about my speech in February on the floor of the House. I want you to know that I will do anything and everything physically possible with every fiber of my being to protect women and girls. And I want to thank the men out there, because real men protect women. Real men protect us from abuse, from being victims and helping survivors. And so we're all in this together. Some people don't always agree with me, but you know that I will always tell you the truth. And for me, protecting women and girls is not political. It's personal. And I deeply care about it because of the trauma I myself have endured, particularly over the last year and a half, but also hearing about the trauma of other women and underage girls and what they've gone through. And I want you to know I will always be there with you. And so some of my top priorities are protecting women and girls from unfair policies that put them at risk, which is why I've introduced bills like the Preventing Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act. I've done that twice now, most recently in January, where it was one of 12 bills in the rules package at the beginning of the year in January. It passed out of the House, where it now sits in the Senate. And this is a bill that ensures illegal aliens convicted of sex offenses, domestic violence, and crimes against children are inadmissible and deportable under U.S. law. The bill is about putting women's safety first and ensuring violent offenders are not allowed to remain in our country. I also have the Protecting Women's Private Spaces Act, H.R. 1016. This bill prohibits individuals from using single-sex facilities on federal property unless they correspond to their biological sex. That means keeping women's restrooms, locker rooms, changing areas safe and private. I have the Stop the Invasion of Women's Spaces Act, H.R. 1017. This legislation blocks federal funding from going to any entity that allows biological men to access women's single-sex spaces. This is about protecting women's dignity, about protecting women's privacy, and about protecting women's safety. And, you know, one of my kids, as I mentioned, just got accepted to college and will be going off to school. And a few weeks ago, we were applying for college dormitories, and there were 13 genders on the dorm application, in crazy, insane BS. And we all know science says there's two. So I did a video on X and on social media, and I didn't even call out the name of the South Carolina school. This is happening in the state of South Carolina. I didn't even call out the name of the college. And within 48 hours of describing the application in 13 genders, within 48 hours, the school had changed the dorm application form and made it 2 genders, one for male and one for female. So I've heard story after story of women who are put in vulnerable positions at South Carolina schools because even though we're in a red state, there are South Carolina colleges and universities that allow men in women's spaces, that allow biological men in locker rooms with our women and girls in college, allow men to play against them in sports, allow them in their dormitory, putting them in vulnerable, unsafe situations. I will not tolerate it. And so I'm trying to make my mark and make the lives of South Carolinians better. And it goes both ways. I just learned, and I'll get to this soon, this week, you'll hear about it, about a biological female who thinks she's a male, using male spaces in locker rooms, showers, and bathrooms. And allegedly, the male students who complain are punished. So I will be addressing that in the days ahead as well. I'm fighting back against policies that erase women and make them feel unsafe. This is common sense, and I won't stop working to defend the rights of women and girls in South Carolina and across the country. We all know our southern border is a crisis. It's not just about illegal immigration. It's about human trafficking, drug smuggling, and national security threats. I've fought for stronger immigration policies to keep Americans safe. I've stood firm against reckless policies that incentivize illegal immigration time and time and time again. I've called for tougher border security measures, including completing the border wall, ending catch and release, and enforcing our immigration laws. I've introduced legislation to stop illegal immigrants convicted of violent crimes from remaining in the U.S. because American families deserve to feel safe in their communities. And get this, in our district, just a few weeks ago, any of you in Somerville, Dorchester County, 3 members of Tren de Agua were arrested in Somerville, South Carolina. These illegals who are here, they're like cockroaches, and they are everywhere. The Sinaloa cartel is in North Charleston. You go to Stall Road, ICE told me, Homeland Security told me, you go to Stall Road, it's nothing but illegals, cartel gang members, PDA, Tren de Agua. And a few weeks ago, I went on an ICE raid in my hometown of Goose Creek, to arrest an illegal who had so much fentanyl on him, he could have killed over 1,000 people in Goose Creek. These people are bad. They're dangerous. They must all be supported. This stuff is everywhere. It's in our backyard. And we have to support our law enforcement, federal and local, who are working to get them out of South Carolina. And I want to make another point. Last year, I had a whistleblower come forward from Charleston County talking about, something needs to be muted, talking about the sheriff in Charleston County, the sanctuary sheriff, Kristen Graziano. I stood almost alone. We had a few state house members and state senators who stood by my side last year when I got this information about sanctuary sheriff Kristen Graziano letting out illegals back into Charleston, back into Lowcountry, back into South Carolina, who were rapists, who were murderers, who were pedophiles and child molesters. She alone was letting these people, these illegals, back on the streets of South Carolina. Not one person in statewide elected office came to our side in the Lowcountry and stood by us as we fought back against the lunacy and the craziness of allowing illegals back out on our streets. And I want to thank the people of Charleston for doing the right thing and getting the truth out there about what was happening on the streets of our hometown. You all made a huge difference. Here in South Carolina, we're home to some of the most dedicated service members in the country. We must always stand with those who serve. That's why I introduced the Parris Island Protection Act, H.R. 443. This bill prohibits the federal government from closing or realigning the Marine Corps Recruit Depot in Parris Island, South Carolina. Parris Island has trained thousands of Marines for over a century, and I'll fight to keep it open for generations to come. I've also worked to expand health care options for our veterans, ensure they have the resources they need after service, and cut through the VA bureaucracy so they get the benefits they've earned. Families across America are struggling under the weight of inflation, while Washington politicians keep spending more and driving up our debt. I've been fighting to rein in wasteful government spending and cut taxes. I've voted to stop reckless spending, government spending that fuels inflation. I've supported pro-growth policies that will lower energy costs, cut red tape, and help small businesses thrive in South Carolina. I continue to fight for lower taxes and fewer regulations so that you keep more of your hard-earned money. These are just some of the ways that I'm working to defend our values, our security, and our future. But I know there's so much more work to be done. And to address another elephant in the room, this week, the Senate sent back to the House a budget reconciliation bill. The House originally sent over one big, beautiful bill that cut spending, made tax cuts permanent, and addressed the wastefulness, fraud, and abuse in federal government, and put America's citizens first, put Donald Trump's America First agenda on the front burner. We did that. The House did that. We did a great job. The Senate sent us back a bill. And I have great heartburn over this bill right now. The House version of the bill cut $1.5 trillion over 10 years. Not enough. If you cut $1.5 trillion a year right now, we would still run an annual deficit. But okay, $1.5 trillion in cuts over 10 years. All right, got it. I supported it. What the Senate did this week to send back a bill that cuts $4 billion over 10 years, when I heard about it, I thought it was a joke. That's approximately $300 million a year. That to me is insane. That is not the America First agenda. To me, is a slap in the face. DOGE just tonight will probably find $300 million to cut somewhere. I don't understand why it is so hard to do the right thing when it comes to curbing the drunken spending of the federal government. So I'm having real heartburn tonight over that bill, and I will read the bill front to back before I decide on which way I'm going to vote, and you'll know about it, and I'll explain it and why I'm doing what I do when I do that, but like I do all of the tough votes we have out there. But I want to hear directly from you all tonight. Press 0 to ask a question. I would love to have a great conversation. I do want to say, as we're lining up folks in the queue right now, I sit on 3 committees: the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform, the House Armed Services Committee, the House Veterans Affairs Committee. I also chair a subcommittee on cybersecurity, information technology, and government innovation on the Oversight Committee. I've introduced a number of bills on women, on illegal aliens, immigration, foreign affairs, national security, taxes in the economy, education. I filed a huge school choice bill last year. And I also want to say, a lot of folks don't always know what we do in the office in terms of federal agencies. So press 0 if you want to get in line for a question. But in terms of what we've done to help save money for constituents, we have returned almost $25 million to Lowcountry residents in the 1st Congressional District. This could be in terms of benefits. This could be like VA benefits. This could be IRS refunds, for example. We've had enormous accomplishments, and I want to share some of the accomplishments from our caseworkers. So, for example, you need help with a passport, you need help with an IRS refund, you lost a job, or you're trying to get an appointment at the VA. We have caseworkers that will help you. One of our constituents had a brother who passed away, and she filed his tax return in an effort to settle his estate. She completed and returned the required forms, but no progress had been made in over a year. Her brother who had passed away still owed bills, which were collecting late fees. And then she contacted our office. We inquired, and shortly thereafter, the refund in this tax return of $18,000 was received. And this family said, end quote, "Thank you for showing us the government can work for the people again. My family is now in a much better place." We had another constituent who was injured in a car accident. Her medical condition forced her to leave her job, but was not severe enough to where she would have to be out of work for more than a few months. So she was not eligible for disability benefits. She was getting nowhere with rental assistance, was about to be evicted, and then she was referred to our office. With help from our office, her application, along with the necessary paperwork, was properly resubmitted, and the funds were finally allocated to cover her rent, which was brought current, and electricity was restored. She said, and I quote, I don't know what I would have done without your help. It was truly a blessing. I want you to know my employees, my staff, they do everything they can to help you, residents of the Lowcountry. Work 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, delivering for each and every one of you. And with that, press 0 to get in the queue. We have about 15 minutes left where I will be answering all of your burning questions.
Yes, and we've got great questions coming in. I am so excited for our conversation. I want to let everyone know, though, that we're also collecting your email addresses. So sign up for our e-newsletter, South Carolina D1, Congresswoman Nancy Mace e-newsletter by pressing 7. You can also give us your cell phone number and opt in for text messages. But our first question was a private message on Facebook, so you can join us there. By the way, we are simulcasting on YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Congresswoman, this came in from Robert. He says, "Hi, Congresswoman Mace." He's on YouTube and says, "Please keep up the good work. Please keep supporting Trump and don't back down." So that's a great way to start us off. But this first question came in from Facebook. It says, "Congresswoman Mace, what inspired you to introduce legislation protecting women's spaces, and how can we support these efforts?" That person wanted to remain anonymous, but I love that question, so I'll pass it over to you.
Yeah, of course. No, when we had a member elected to Congress, a man who cross-dresses, identifies as a woman, but he's not a woman because he was born a man, get elected to Congress, the question of using women's spaces arose. And I said, not over my dead body. I am a survivor of rape. I'm a survivor of sexual violence. I'm a survivor of voyeurism. If you watched my speech in February, you will understand why I'm so passionate about protecting women. I know personally, even when women believe they're in a private space, how vulnerable we are. And the last thing that women should be forced to do is undress in front of a man in a locker room, is to have his penis next to us in a bathroom stall. Like, that to me is just disgusting, and I won't tolerate it. So the question came is, how are we going to handle this? And I said, I know how I'm going to handle this. I am going to file a bill to end this. I am not going to allow men in women's spaces. And real men came to defend women's spaces last year when I filed that bill. And the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, put it in his Speaker's policy on the House side of the Capitol that it will not be tolerated, that men are not allowed in our locker rooms. Men are not allowed in our restrooms and bathrooms. Men are not allowed in our dressing rooms, because Mike Johnson knows that we have to protect women, and he's a real man, and he did it for us. Now, we can't stop there. We have to do it everywhere. It's got to be across every federal property, every property across the country. So I have filed a series of bills, including protecting women in prison, because we know story after story of men who are rapists who say, oh, now I'm a woman, I got to go to a women's prison so I can go rape more women. I don't think so. Not on my watch. And so I have filed a number of bills affecting federal property, affecting federal funding, anyone who gets federal funding, and women's prisons. That no more. We're not doing this. This is crazy. It's wild. It's lunatic. Lunatic law. We aren't having any of it. And I will tell you, on the sports issue, when President Trump signed his executive order to ban men from women's sports, he asked me to speak about it when I was at the White House for his signing of the executive order. And I was deeply honored to be given that shout out, to be asked to say a few words. And I thanked him. And I said, our country's praying for you, Mr. President, because it's just so important that we support him, because he supports us. He's the most pro-woman president in American history. He hired the first female chief of staff for the White House ever, of course. And so we support him. He's got so many women in his cabinet. So many secretaries are women. He supports us, and I, of course, support him. So thank you for the question.
Yes, we've got great Lindsay, James, William coming up. Let's go to Lindsay live. A reminder, press 0 to submit your own question like Lindsay did. Also pressing 7, provide us your email address so we can keep you up to date on what we're talking about tonight and other issues going forward. Lindsay Somerville, you're live right now. Please go ahead with your question. Lindsay, are you there? You might have us on mute.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, please go ahead, Lindsay.
Hi there. I was just wondering, you were talking about protecting women. how are we supposed to figure out if someone is a male to female transgender person in the restrooms? Like, what is the protocol? Because I'm seeing a lot of women that are biologically women, but they just tend to have more masculine features, and they are being harassed in restrooms, and I feel like that's kind of counterproductive. I also was going to ask about, as far as protecting women, how do you feel about DEIA being taken away? Because, I mean, you got to go to the Citadel with your DEIA, and now generations of girls aren't going to be able to have the same opportunities. So I just was wondering.
Make it very clear. Let me make it very clear, Lindsay from Somerville. I earned the right to wear the ring at the Citadel. No one gave it to me. I didn't get it for free. I got no exceptions. I fought like hell for my ring from the Citadel. You have no idea what I went through to graduate from the Citadel. It is not a DEI graduate ring. I have a real ring because I earned it. The blood, sweat, and tears I went through to follow in my father's footsteps. You will never know the pain that a woman goes through to go through and succeed at a place like the Citadel. You wouldn't last an hour. So don't give me that about DEI. Don't give me that about, you sound like someone who wants men and women's spaces. And I got to tell you, I will never allow it. Not over my dead body. So if that's what you want, Lindsay from Somerville, I will not help you. I'm not going to support that. I think that is disgusting. And I think your position that a woman who works hard, who earns the ring, earns a degree at the Citadel, that she's somehow some kind of a DEI graduate. Have you lost your mind? Do you know how many women have gone through there and graduated since I helped pave the way for women in the last 25 years? It is a huge honor. We should be supporting women who go through a place like the Citadel that is the toughest military college in the country. You will never know that toughness because you're part of the far left. You're probably one of those people, one of those fake town hallers who want a fake town hall because you've never shown up to one. So you can just sit right back down. I'm not going to have any of it.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Wow, what a response. So glad we have you on the line with us, Congresswoman Nancy Mace. Let's go right away to James in Johns Island, who hopefully is here with a real question, a real telephone town hall listener. James, you're live. Go ahead.
How you doing, Ms. Mace?
I'm doing well, thank you.
This is James. So I'm a combat veteran, was medically retired, and I'm trying to find out what the status of the Major Richard Starr Act is. And if they're actually going to put it to a vote in the House.
Okay, yeah, this bill was done by, I believe, Representative Bill Arakis, and I am a co-sponsor, I believe, of that legislation. My understanding, H.R. 2102 has not moved forward. It is just sitting in committee in the House. It has not been passed out of committee. It's not gotten to the floor of the House for a vote yet. There are a lot of bills out there, and well, number one, I want to thank you for your service to your country. Fighting for our freedoms for every one of us. We appreciate your service to our nation. But there are a lot of bills that should be moved out of committee. So many common sense bills especially. It's like we come up here, we're up here 3 weeks out of 4 a month, and it feels like we get very little done because of all the fighting. But this is one of the bills that I am a co-sponsor of. It has not had a hearing yet. So the process is when you file a bill, you get co-sponsors. It then goes through a committee process. It goes through what's called markup in a committee if it can get a hearing in committee. If it passes through the markup or the committee hearing, it then comes to the floor for a vote. If it passes out of the floor of the House from a vote, it then goes over to the Senate and does the same process all over again until it can come out of successfully both chambers, the Senate and the House, and get to the President's desk to be signed into law. So my understanding right now is that bill has not gone anywhere in the House. We're already a co-sponsor. But if you have friends in other districts, other congressional districts, the next best move would be to call that member of Congress, those constituents to call their member of Congress, make sure they are a co-sponsor, and vote and be vocal in your support for the bill moving forward. Thank you for your question tonight.
Yes, thanks so much for joining our conversation. All right, before we go to William up next in Charleston, we have a quick survey question that Congresswoman loves your feedback on this. You'll vote by pressing the buttons on the keypad on your phone. If you're listening on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter, just comment your answer there as well, and we'll collect them after the call. We want to know, do you support legislation that protects women's sports and private spaces from biological men competing or accessing them? Press 1 on the keypad on your phone for yes, absolutely. Press 2 for yes, but with some exceptions. Press 3 for yes, but with a lot of exceptions. Press 4 if you're unsure, I need more information, and press 5 if you have no opinion. So again, let me read through that one more time. Again, just respond with your thoughts, your answer in the chat below if you're with us on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. But here we want to know, do you support legislation that protects women's sports and private spaces from biological men competing or accessing them? Press 1 for yes, absolutely. Press 2 for yes, but with some exceptions. Press 3 for no, I don't support these policies. Press 4 if you're unsure but need more information. And press 5 if you have no opinion. So while everybody weighs in on that, let's go right away to William's question. I think this is the last one we might have time for tonight. We're getting to as many as we can, though. I know you are very busy. Let's get to William right now. You're live on the line. Please go ahead.
Good evening, Congresswoman. Thank you for taking my call.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you for taking my call. I was just curious about TikTok. It has some recognizable benefits, I believe, and I would support that aspect of it. But I would strongly urge you to do everything you can to let's get rid of TikTok. There's too risky, too many opportunities for the wrong information to get out.
Oh, thank you so much. We've had 2 votes on TikTok, and I actually support the First Amendment and support TikTok. We've got a lot of small businesses in South Carolina, even in the Lowcountry, who depend on TikTok to support their businesses. One of the things that I found disingenuous about the whole TikTok debate that you wouldn't hear from most of the folks in the establishment, either in Washington or in South Carolina, is that the government, I don't believe, has the right to determine what apps should or should not be in the App Store. But what they don't tell you is whatever the concerns are with TikTok, they're not expressing those concerns across the board. And in fact, TikTok's data when it comes to American citizens is actually owned and protected and operated by an American company called Oracle. And that data is stored here in the United States. It doesn't go overseas to China. There is no backdoor way to that. But if Congress was really concerned about data going to China and data going to our adversaries, they would be banning the loopholes, the gaps in other apps. There are thousands of apps on the App Store that are built by adversaries like Russia, adversaries like Iran, adversaries aligned with China or Yemen or any number of countries that hate America and democracy and everything we stand for. And so to me, it was just a ruse. It didn't do as it was intended. I thought it was unconstitutional. And then at the same time, it actually didn't do anything to prevent American data from getting into the hands of bad people and getting into the hands of our adversaries. And so, it's very important that we're honest and that we have this conversation. Even the way the media covered it was a lie, covered it. And so my job is to tell you the truth and then to tell you what the best next step is. And I think we have time. I think we do have time for one more question since this one was kind of a short one. So we'll do one more.
All right, excellent. We've got, looks like we have Nathan here from Somerville as well. Or wait, nope, Nathan, I just lost your question. I'm so sorry. Let me go to one that, let's see, trying to pick one here that is a great one to wrap us off with. Why don't we, shucks, this is a great one. Why is it important to ensure that only biological, we already spoke about that as well. Let's talk about the border. I know that is huge. Okay, I'm just going to, there's 3 or 4 here that came in. We have John and Riley and Susanna. So I'll just ask you a quick question about the border here because I know we don't have that much time. How will preventing violence against women by illegal aliens, the Violence Against the Women by Illegal Aliens Act, how will that help keep criminals from staying in the the United States. And thanks to everyone for kind of submitting your questions around that.
Yeah, the Violence Against Women by Illegal Aliens Act, I did that bill last fall and again in January, and it passed out of the House with flying colors. However, 145 Democrats voted against that bill. That bill would deport illegals who are here, who are rapists, who are murderers, who are child molesters and pedophiles. If you're any one of those, really just the worst of the worst, you're here illegally, you immediately get deported and you are not allowed reentry. And so it's really important that as we are looking at the tens of millions of people that are here illegally and need to be deported, that we prioritize, I believe, the worst of the worst. These are rapists. These are murderers. These are pedophiles, child molesters. 145 Democrats voted against that bill. It should have been bipartisan across the board. This isn't hard. This is common sense. This is logic. This is why it was so important in Charleston that we got rid of a sanctuary sheriff, because she was letting out illegals just like this. Rapists, murderers, pedophiles, out on the streets of Charleston, putting you and your family, you and your kids' lives in danger. And I will never allow that, never over my dead body, which is why, it's why I told my story on the House floor. Being very vulnerable, being truthful and honest and saying, this happened, and what am I going to do about it? I authored dozens of bills to protect women and kids, and this is just one of them that will make a huge difference in making the communities, not just in South Carolina, but all across the country, making our country safer. That's what it does. And I am so deeply passionate about protecting women and about protecting kids. Nobody on the left, no Democrat, no one will stop me. You can't, because I personally know how important it is to protect women and kids. Both as a mom and as a survivor, I'm taking the trauma I have been through, and I'm taking that anguish and I'm turning it into action, because I love the Lowcountry. I love the people I represent. I love the state I serve. I serve you and only you. And I don't care what anybody else says, but that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do it every day of the week, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, 24 hours a day. I work for you, nobody else. Thank you so much, everybody. We appreciate you. If you want to sign up for email or text, I believe you can press 7. Right? Is that right? To get on the list and get our weekly updates.
Yes, it is. Yes, absolutely. For weekly updates. Thank you so much for putting that in as well. Love communicating with everyone.
And if you need anything, we're here to serve. mace.house.gov. You need help with a passport, help with an IRS refund, help with an appointment at the VA, or anything else. Let us help you. mace.house.gov. Thank you so much, and God bless each and every one of you. I pray for all of us every night. Thank you so much, and God bless.
Please press 1 to leave voicemail. Please press 1 to leave voicemail. Please press 1 to leave voicemail.